If you take a step back, Ryan, and look holistically at your team, have you found that AI reduces the need for overall headcount, or is it just changing the profile of what people do and who you hire for?
Changes the profile primarily. I can't deny that it has changed the need for growth in places. It hasn't caused us to pull back in a really strong way, as you might have seen, plenty of headlines across news around folks who've done just that. For us, though, it has mostly been a change of profile. That is both the folks we're looking for and how the folks internally are being measured and how they're operating. In many ways, we are looking for the type of folks that are multipliers. They're not coming in to replace a function one to one, but to rather to expand what that function is capable of. This isn't just a nice to have this AI fluency anymore. It is a hard and fast filter at Zapier. One of the cases I like to share an example around, I think it's a pretty classic case to be fair, is our support team, which we have now revamped and renamed customer op because they are doing a whole lot of sort of interesting stuff. And maybe this will explain why. So over the years, support team has always been very forward thinking as far as how to automate, how to sort of create efficiency and leverage. And over the last year or so, they've really done a pretty phenomenal job, mostly relying on AI tools, blending that with capabilities within Zapier. And the result is they have been able to reduce headcount across that team. But that team hasn't just cut the headcount. They've ultimately sort of retooled and repurposed those folks to go build fixes and feature requests on the integrations across those 9,000 apps, which used to be an engineering team's responsibility. What was a support team has now become this sort of customer facing forward engineering team fixing bugs and again shipping features for customers, driving revenue as a result of us using AI tooling and us getting that sort of like AI profile in the door to just do more with less. And so that's sort of how we try to approach it. Ultimately, we just want to extend the capabilities of folks with these tools.
Out of all the interviews I've done, that's the most positive outcome I think you could hope for in terms of upskilling existing workers.
We always hold a high bar when it comes to hiring folks at Zapier, and we know given the right problem space and the right set of tools, folks are capable. Like the support team being able to do that within an engineering is an unlock, and it's like, yeah, why wouldn't we do this?
Something that me and you were kicking around before the call is that Zapier already automated a ton of workflows before AI in an RPA fashion, remote process automation. So where does AI actually add incremental value versus just being a more expensive layer on top of what you've maybe already built?
Really, right down the center for Zapier. Determinism, Zapier, the core sort of offering, it is really good at handling structured role-based work. It's great for things like accounting. Yeah, it's very technical, repeatable. AI, obviously, where it comes in and where it's most valuable is when it's handling these ambiguous inputs, making judgment calls, having to do this synthesis, right? And so ultimately what we find is that AI really adds value at the edges. And that is where human sort of triage or judgment used to sit. And so within accounting, as an example, we've automated away our month end close years ago. Like years and years and years ago, it was like everything we were doing manually, we got rid of. And I've talked to a lot of folks about this, and it was built on deterministic zaps, path them through. When the invoice hits this thing, go take that action, route it here based on these rules, so on and so forth. So like that has always existed at Zapier. What's changed is if you take that same filter that I just shared, is that oftentimes you sort of had to have a lot of different paths for all the edge cases, for all that error handling and sort of interesting stuff that isn't always the same. And so that's where at Zapier, what we've done is we effectively replace a lot of the things that we based that were strictly deterministic. And we put sort of an AI step in the middle of it. And so you allow the sort of very transactional pieces that are very role based. Like when the invoice gets generated, take this step. Don't use judgment. I'm going to take the step. Only do it when the invoice gets generated. Only, pass it based on it being above or below X dollars. Like that is a very binary condition. But once it gets to this step, whether it is like synthesize or catch an error or flag for review in Slack or get a human in the loop on it, those are the things where it's going to use judgment or a coding looks like it doesn't match the GL. That's the type of stuff where we've inserted the AI step to really add that value and remove the need for this sort of like human judgment. That is our sort of rule of thumb, right? Like determinism where you can, and then AI sort of more where you must. One interesting anecdote that I'll share. So Zapier, we offer a standalone agents product. You can go buy agents separately from the core Zapier workflow product. And it is a traditional agentic solution. You can type in their prompt, tool call, LLM, messaging, so on and so forth, model of choice, all that good stuff. But we, over the last few months, I've really started to go through and parse the use cases. We're trying to understand what are people building with these things and what does it look like compared to what they're building with Zapier or traditional Zapier. And what we found is about 80 or 90% of what folks built was deterministic. And only a small sliver required an agentic input.
Were they just not thinking big enough originally, just not knowing that they could figure it out?
I mean, the short answer is no. I mean, even if you look at an agent, most of the things that you build, it's code. It is generally speaking triggered on events and follow a predictable pattern. And there's a set of instructions where the judgment comes in. But like the before and after of that set of instructions, I mean, in this case, 8 times out of 10 is deterministic in nature. It's like take these actions upon these things. And then when you get here, that's where I want you to sort of use a little bit more judgment.
It does sound like you would agree that there are still many, many cases where a simple deterministic Zap still beats an AI-driven workflow.
100%. I mean, any workflow where the input is really clean, the logic is fixed, absolutely. Like you mentioned earlier, AI is expensive, tokens are expensive. There's latency. There's a little bit of opaqueness of like, what did it do? How do I audit it? How do I explain this to my auditors? I threw in an Excel file and it spit out this thing. It's a bit of a black box in cases. So certainly when it meets those conditions, determinism still wins in my book.
I've seen a lot of FP&A tools, and Aleph is one of the few that gave me that aha moment within minutes. I remember watching their founder, shout out to Albert, connect my NetSuite data and build me a full P&L live in minutes. Aleph is now trusted by hundreds of leading companies. I've had the CFOs from Turo, 8Sleep, Zapier, and more on the pod, and every one of them is a huge advocate. I also just published my 2nd annual CFO Tech Stack report, and Aleph has been on the podium both years, including a #1 finish in the $50 to $100 million segment this year. Instead of being just another planning tool, they built a real enterprise-grade data foundation for finance, implemented at startup speed with AI-native workflows woven into its DNA. All your systems, ERP, CRM, HRIS, ATS, product usage, and more, powering one clean, governed data layer that finance can actually trust. And with AI moving as fast as it is, they're pushing even further. MCP, custom AI chatbots, AI-powered variance analysis, and the list keeps growing. Try it with your own data at getaleph.com/run. That is GETALEPH.com/run. Tell them CJ sent you.